explaining that Eva's best friend, Melanie, another orphaned evacuee, had been adopted by an aunt and was off to live in Wales just before Christmas, and that, though heartbroken, Eva wanted to organise a farewell party before she left Massingham Hall. Typically, our Eva has planned for everyone else to do the work, starting with Stan, Sid and Norm, who have been ordered to find a Christmas tree to her liking when the time comes.
Oh, and then there'll be the proggy rub co-op led by your mam, who'll be instructed to provide the eats from everyone's rations,
Davy had said, laughing.
Luckily for Sophia, she'll be busy with the new babe, so not too involved. But the factory girls group will have to be the entertainer.
Are you a mind reader? Fran interrupted. At that point, the call box door had opened, and Sarah had yelled to her brother, "Talk quickly, Davy. It's too cold for me and Beth standing out here, waiting for her ladyship. It's fine for you down in the south." Whereupon she and Beth had crowded in, while Fran repeated what he'd said. "Spot on, our Davy," shouted Beth. "Eva's made a list of all that's to happen, ticking it off, when I swear she hasn't actually asked anyone." Sarah had snatched the receiver from Fran, sharing it with Beth. "I reckon the co-op's been giving her lessons on being bossy." Now, in the warmth of the kitchen, Sarah was waving her knitting needles and wool. "They's put me in mind of Davy's phone call yesterday," she said, "and us telling him about Eva doling out jobs without a by your leave. Just look at what's happening right here and—" Beth interrupted as the girls sniggered. "But the difference is, we did actually agree to knit these cardigans. 'Tisn't just your mam making it up. So I reckon we should get on with it because we have to catch the bus at midday." "Oh, who's sucking up?" Fran chanted. "Well, let's do it then. For mam's at least shown thought by getting yellow to match our factory skin." The three of them burst out laughing as Annie whispered, "Don't remind me of those dreadful explosives you work with, please. You know we mams spend our time doing our best to forget." Sarah stopped and tugged the needles from her ball of wool, deep in thought as the clock ticked and the range firebox glowed, throwing out heat. "With us talking of your mam not making things up, I found myself thinking about that Daisy who made such a habit of fibbing. Has Davy heard any more after she ran off from the mother and baby home? Didn't he say she might have been seen in Scotland last month? It's the babe that worries me. I can't imagine how the silly girl will be coping with the bairn all alone." "No, there's been nothing more seen or heard," Fran answered, not wanting to think about Daisy in any way, shape or form, after she'd been such a horror at Bletchley Park, where Davy worked as a decoder. Daisy had accused not only Davy, but his marrow, Daniel, of forcing themselves on her. The lads couldn't understand why, until it became apparent she'd wanted someone to share the responsibility of the baby she was expecting. A baby whose father was, in fact, her dead RAF boyfriend. Of course, Davy, kind as he was, and Daniel too, had asked Daniel's vicar father to try and find a place for her in a home for unmarried mothers, as apparently her own parents weren't interested. It was from this home that she had disappeared months ago, taking the baby with her. Annie was knocking on the kitchen table, which brought the girls to order. "Attention, please. We're having all day, so sit down and watch closely, for I'm sick of showing you how to do this. It isn't as though you know nothing about knitting, for you learned at school. It's such a simple thing, but to make it even easier, I'll show you how to cast on using your thumb." Fran smiled as her mam took her place at the head of the table, nodding at them to sit. It was like being back at school, watching her mam wind a strand of wool around her thumb before looking at each of them in turn, just as their teacher had done. "Watch close, because while you do, I have to tell you that we must help Eva and obey the ticks on the list, for it's her farewell to her marrow. Mind, I have an inkling that all our chores will start growing a bit like Topsy. That wee lass doesn't think small. Oh, no, not at all." The girls